The median American in their 50s has just $53,000 saved for retirement. This comes from Fidelity's 2024 data pulled from 45 million real accounts, not an estimate. Apply the 4% withdrawal rule that the entire industry relies on, and that sum only produces $2,120 a year, $176 per month. Add the average Social Security check of $1,900 per month, and most retirees are looking at roughly $2,100 total per month, with essentially zero margin for error. One transmission failure, one unexpected medical bill, or one broken appliance is all it takes for the math to collapse. If that number hits you hard, it should. Because today I want to show you 3 specific data-backed signs that suggest you are not falling behind the way you might feel. In reality, you are likely way above average once you measure against the right scoreboard. What makes this situation feel so strange is that the people who actually save consistently, skip the flashy purchases, and try to do the responsible thing month after month are often the ones who feel the most behind. They see neighbors with new trucks, renovated kitchens, and kids running between activities, and they wonder if they somehow missed the meeting where everyone else got the real roadmap. In truth, they've been comparing themselves to the wrong scoreboard, the visible one that rewards income and appearances rather than net worth buffers and actual compounding. The visible scoreboard celebrates what people can see: cars, houses, and weekends that look good on social media. The real scoreboard measures whether you have breathing room when life hits, whether your savings beat the median reality, and whether your money is working instead of quietly losing ground to inflation. When you switch to the actual numbers from Fidelity, the Federal Reserve and IRS records a different and surprisingly relieving picture begins to emerge. Sign number 1 is simpler than it sounds, but far more powerful than most people realize: you have an emergency fund. A 2024 bank rate survey showed that 56% of Americans could not cover a $1,000 emergency with savings. The Federal Reserve adds that 22% have zero savings and another 22% have less than 1 month of expenses, meaning nearly half the country is walking a financial tightrope with no net. If you already have 1 to 3 months of living expenses set aside in something accessible, you've moved into the top half of the country on one of the most important foundations of financial stability. And this is where it gets interesting. An emergency fund doesn't just cover the emergency, it protects your ability to keep investing without interruption and stops a temporary problem from turning into a permanent setback. Take Ray, for example. He had a stable government job for 11 years with good benefits and automatic retirement contributions. Everything looked fine from the outside until his transmission failed for $1,300. He didn't have the cash, so he used a credit card at 22% interest. 8 months later, the total cost had climbed to nearly $1,780, with almost $500 lost to interest alone. That one ordinary repair created months of stress and pulled money away from his future. Having even a modest buffer changes the entire chain of events. But having that safety net is only the first sign. The second one reaches much deeper into where most people feel the pressure. Sign number 2. Your retirement savings exceed the median for your age group. Fidelity's 2024 data from 45 million accounts shows the medians are surprisingly low, about $5,000 in your 20s, $11,000 in your 30s, $36,000 in your 40s, and $60,000 in your 50s. Apply the 4% rule to $60,000 and you only get $2,400 a year, or $200 per month. Add $1,900 from Social Security, and total retirement income sits around $2,100 per month, just barely above the poverty guideline of $1,255 for a single adult. These numbers only include people who have a 401k. When you factor in the 30% of private sector workers without any employer plan, the true median drops even lower. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve's 2022 data shows median net worth for ages 45 to 54 is $247,000, with the 75th percentile at $837,000. If your savings sit above these medians, for instance, $180,000 at age 43 while contributing $12,000 a year, you're not average. You're likely in the top 20 to 25% for your age. Yet many in this position still feel behind because they've been measuring against fantasy targets instead of reality. Look at Dave and Kevin, both 47. Dave earns $130,000 with a current model truck renovated kitchen and kids in 3 activities. His net worth is about $90,000. Kevin earns $85,000, drives a 6-year-old sedan with 112,000 miles, and lives modestly. His net worth is $510,000, and he's on track to reach $1.2 million before 60. Dave looks richer on the surface. Kevin is far ahead where it actually counts. Still, money in accounts is only part of the picture. The third sign is often the one that decides long-term outcomes. Sign number 3, you are actually investing, not just saving. Leave $50,000 in a standard savings account, earning nearly nothing, and 2.8% average inflation quietly erodes about $1,400 of purchasing power every year. The statement looks unchanged, but what it can buy slowly shrinks. Put that same $50,000 in a basic S&P 500 index fund and hold through every cycle for 30 years, and it grows to approximately $980,000. Same starting amount, one different decision, 2 entirely different retirements. The behavioral numbers are sobering. Only 14% of 401k participants max their contributions according to 2023 IRS data, and just 53% of Americans own stocks at all. Studies tracking real investor behavior show the average person underperforms the S&P 500 by 3 to 4 percentage points a year, mostly because emotion leads them to sell low and buy high. I saw this happen to one of my own accountants, experienced and sharp, who sold everything in March 2020 out of fear and missed the recovery. That single emotional move cost him hundreds of thousands in lost compounding. If you automate contributions, stay invested through volatility, and resist the urge to tinker when markets drop, you belong to a much smaller group than most realize. That consistent behavior often matters more than the starting amount. When you put all 3 signs together, the low medians that feel so scary actually explain why doing the ordinary disciplined things consistently puts you well ahead of most Americans. You don't need perfection or a genius plan. You simply need a buffer that protects your progress savings above the real median, and the discipline to let money compound instead of sitting still or getting pulled out at the wrong time. Dave still looks like the winner when you drive past his house, but the real scoreboard tells a different story. Kevin, who appears to be just getting by, is actually positioned to stop working years earlier. So take a quiet moment this week and check your own numbers against the actual medians instead of against whatever visible success surrounds you. Look at your emergency reserves, your retirement balances, and whether your money is working or merely waiting. You might discover you've been winning a game you didn't even realize you were ahead in. Comment below, which of these 3 signs surprised you the most? Or tell me, are you still watching the visible scoreboard or the real one? The numbers don't lie. The only real question is which set of numbers you decide to trust going forward.